All right. Yes. We are back again for another open court discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Ow!
All right. Tonight, Monday, February 10th, we will be discussing Black History Month. Is it still relevant today? Should it be celebrated? As some of us celebrate Black History Month, we are reminded of the profound impact African Americans have had on our nation's history, culture, and identity, from the courageous struggles of the civil rights movement to the innovative contributions to music, literature, and art. Black history is American history. However, the question remains, should Black History Month be celebrated? Some argue that dedicating a single month to Black history segregates it from the rest of American history. Others believe that it's essential to recognize the unique experience and achievement of African Americans. As we explore this question, we'll delve into the significance of Black History Month, its origin, and the ongoing debate surrounding its celebration. We'll also examine ways in which Black history has shaped our country and the importance of continued recognition and celebration. Join us as we navigate this complex and thought provoking topic. Let's work together to understand the values and significance of Black History Month and its place in our shared American experience. Please like and share our video, and don't forget to tell a Black History supporter to tell another Black History supporter to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. We're sitting at 935 subs. Slight movement, uh, but we still grinding. So here we are, Black History Month. But before we get into that, let's see what's going on. Yeah, we showing our blackness today. Had to break up a fight, which, yeah, I think I'm about to retire from that game. Cause boy, oh boy, after that, I was sore. I was sore. Uh, and I'm like, yo, I'm just what I didn't want to do is have two kids just going at it, and then one of the other guys that were he was trying to get them apart. So then I seen it and I stepped in, but man, that was afterwards I was winded. I was like, "Woo wee, man!" It's just and it kind of ties into and I think Auntie's when she gets on, she might speak to something about that about just our self hate or toward each other and just fighting and carrying on for no damn real apparent reason. It got to be better than that. So the question is, damn, celebrate it to do what? What are you gaining from it? What do people want to do with the information? Uh, so we'll bring Auntie on in a little bit so she can give her feedback as an 83-year-old woman. Big Bad Wolf, what's good with you? Did you hear me? Hurt.
Cut out briefly. I was getting ready to say I thought it was me. Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
I said, what's good with you?
No, man, football season's over. People upset at the halftime show. To be honest, the halftime show is a time for me to go to the bathroom, fill up the plate, grab some more drinks. So I don't care who's performing. If you tune in for the halftime show, then you're not really paying attention too closely to what we've been telling you guys for the last couple of years. Especially those of you who are single, who are looking for somebody to start a relationship with. Go meet people. Go get involved in the conversation. Enjoy the festivities. And I guarantee you, not too many of you did that yesterday. Not too many of you met new people, exchanged business cards, open your mouth to somebody that you didn't know. He probably sat there, ate, drank, and bitched about the bell bottoms that Kendrick Lamar was wearing that made him look like a female. Too bad, so sad, so sorry. I enjoyed the beatdown. Shout out to Connell, my nephew, and his and all the rest of the Eagle fans. You get number 2 in the trophy case. You're still a baby in the division, but you're making steps. We applaud you. Keep coming. You'll get there eventually. But other than that, man, now my Sundays are kind of free because basketball is not what it used to be. The NHL is starting to hit its stride, no pun intended. The Sabres putting together some wins. So we go see how things gonna go. We got about another 4 weeks of this bitter cold, and then things are kind of, start to thaw out. I can get my house back into order and get some things situated. But that's what's going on in this neck of the woods.
Oh, speaking of that, yeah, it was a lot of. I made a comment about why do Kendrick Lamar got on girl jeans, and it's been going back and forth. And I was like, these people picked the wrong argument. Y'all mad at me because that's what they look like to me. Then you want to go into all of that. Oh, in the 70s, you were in the 70s, you wore bell. I never wore no freaking bell bottoms. Maybe dads did, but as a kid, I had designer jeans that were snug and perfectly fitted, and that's how our clothes were back in those days, and probably some long sneakers as my feet continued to grow. But all of that, nah, I just said it. They look like girl jeans. I'm sorry, and you could come with your fashion or say that's a fashion. That's what they do. That still don't change the fact that they look like girl jeans. And I'm trying to wonder where was the argument at that y'all were saying, because how could y'all? And then someone mentioned critical thinking. Now, you don't mention critical thinking to somebody who taught critical thinking at a college. That that was my perception. See that how that works is we can all be looking at the same thing, but be seeing something different.
Mhm.
While y'all was saying, oh, this and that, he dropping this, he dropping that. Oh, all you was worried about was the jeans. I just seen as he sashayed, as my brother Carlos said, sashayed across the thing. I was like, this dude got those girl jeans, whatever. But see, I guess the difference is y'all was, oh, so mesmerized by the word, the message. Didn't we hear that message a long time ago? Didn't we hear that message in the 80s or in the 90s when we went to the Million Man March and all of this stuff when we was reading the message to the black man, the fall of America and all that stuff? Where was y'all at? But y'all say y'all woke. Hmm, woke. If that was your first time hearing it, it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. And the people was going back and forth when y'all like 40, 50, 60, and probably some older. Y'all joking, right? That wasn't the first time y'all heard that message, was it? Because it didn't, I didn't, to be honest, I thought the sound system was kind of, I couldn't really even hear what was going on as far as that. So I probably was doing something else, but um, Auntie gonna speak a little bit about this stuff too. So let me see if she's ready to come in so can get her up out of here because she said she stayed up to watch it and she tired. Let me see. All right. Good evening, everyone. Yes, Auntie. How you doing? The counseling. How you doing? The big bad wolf. Miss Auntie on here just to let you know or talk about Black history and should it is it still relevant today and should it be celebrated? I got a lot of mixed feelings about this, and it's a lot. It's a lot because of course the obvious is we need to learn our history. We need to learn it. The more we learn it, the more you have self love and you care about yourself.
and you care about your ancestors that worked hard and did everything to try to create a better life. But then on the opposite end, you think about how time has evolved. It don't seem like people on the same page. It just seems like it's so many other things to worry about. And then the question I want to ask, who's going to teach the young people? Because it's really not a part of the curriculum. You might have an elective course, African American Studies, and that might be like one semester long. That's just not enough. We got a rich, long, prosperous, painful history that it would take more. If you gonna offer that in school, that would be just like when you have to take U.S. history, world history, American history, economics. Then you need to have 3.5 years of African American studies because it's just that deep, and so if things are the way that it is now, I say, what is the point? What are we doing here, people? Because you can't dumb it down. You can't give us what you've been giving us. Uh, 28 days in a month to celebrate it. A program once in a while at your local community church. It just take more than that. It take more than that for people to understand. And the question is, do people really care to understand if it don't impact their lives? I often think about the story one time we was around for the holidays, and I like to tell my stories. And I asked a couple of my nieces and nephews, I said, what y'all learning in school, babies? I said, do y'all know who Dr. Martin Luther King is? And they like, oh, yeah, yeah. That's the man that got shot because he wanted peace. And that stuck out to me because that's the only image they thought about, the man that got shot. And like nothing else. That was troublesome to me. It would be comparable to somebody say, do you know who O.J. Simpson is? And they say, yeah, that's the one who had the double murder. But they can't, you know, recite or remember or think about any other facts that he was the first running back probably that had 2,000 yards. But they see these images. I always talk about images. And some people in Black history, historic figures, they know because they were branded better. People know who Malcolm X is. You see Malcolm X on T-shirts. You see the phrase "by any means necessary." You know they kind of know who Malcolm X is. I was shocked when they said my niece and nephew said that about Dr. King, but somehow you still kind of know who he is. But then there's other ones they don't know nothing about. No Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, Marcus Garvey, and then the Dred Scott. They don't know about that. They don't know. And again, who's gonna teach them that? Because I could say one thing. You could say, well, an African American male or female. But males they ain't racing to the door to be educators. A lot of them trying to get out of it. It just everything is disjointed. There's no connection with the parents and the teachers, and some men that just don't have time for kids to be disrespectful. Because sometimes you be ready to lay hands on them, ready to lay hands on them. So who's gonna teach them? Are you gonna have a Caucasian man teaching them? Is he gonna have the passion and the fire to really deliver the message? Come on, people, what are we doing here? That's where the frustration lies. So again, I got some notes. The obvious is, uh, you want to find out who played a vital role in shaping the United States and the world by celebrating Black history. You can gain deeper understanding of the past, appreciate the progress made toward equality, and acknowledge the ongoing struggles and challenges faced by the Black community. Well, do people care? Do people really care? We know that there is a struggle. We often talk about, and I done heard heard the counselor and the big bad wolf say it, and it's true. Start in the home. You got to build stronger homes. Then that leaks out into building stronger communities. Then you build stronger cities, and and then inside of that you have better schools. Because do people really care? We killing each other off like it ain't no tomorrow. Uh, and that's a lack of love for self. And it's just it's a lot. And I'm not going. And I promise you, I think I stayed up too late last night watching that damn Super Bowl. And that wasn't. I thought it would be a closer game, but Philly uh, stumped a mud hole in Kansas City's ass. So, but you know what? I seen a lot of talk today. A lot of time, you know me. I'm 83 years old, so I'm jumping all over. Just take the jewels that I'm dropping. A lot of talk back and forth with the Kendrick Lamar thing, and people were saying that wasn't the place or time. That um, he wasn't entertaining enough. Then you had people saying, um, like y'all must didn't get the message. Only woke people understand. Now that really tripped me out. Some of these people that's all of a sudden woke. What you do? Got tired of rolling over in that piss and you woke up? Because some of y'all, and I know some of y'all, I watched y'all grow up. The ones that's 40 and 50, you're talking about your woke. When was your woke back in the days when the Muslim brothers was out on the corners selling the final calls, slanging them bean pies. By the way, I ain't have a good bean pie in a while. Them joints be slamming, as y'all young people say. They be busting. So anybody who can selling bean pies, hit me up. Hit me up on my number, 777-9311. Hit me up so I can get a couple bean pies. So, but back to what I said. So was y'all woke then? Nah, some of y'all was turning y'all head. So when you talk about woke and you talk about, and I'm not taking nothing away from that young soldier, Kendrick Lamar, whatever, for the message he was dropping. But that message has been around. It's been around. But you know what? Y'all didn't want to receive it. Y'all didn't want to receive it. It's people that went to the Million Man March, people that heard the Honorable Louis Farrakhan speak and read up on the Elijah Muhammad message to the black man, the fall of America, and other books. And they was talking about this stuff. The stuff that was going on now that we need to do for ourselves. We can't rely on other people. They said create your own, get your own land. Uh, uh, have more black businesses. Y'all didn't want to hear it, but now all of a sudden you're woke. You're woke for what? You woke for what? That's what I don't understand. Then I seen some of y'all was going at the counselor. He said that looked like Kendrick Lamar had on girl jeans. And y'all took it to, oh, back in the days, you wore bell bottoms and all that. Now I could tell you, but them kids was not 8, 9, 10 years old, wasn't wearing no damn bell bottoms. Now y'all need to stop. Y'all need to stop. They had designer jeans out. People used to wear corduroys. They wore the sweatsuits. So them old bell bottoms, that was for the older OG man that thought they were G's, whatever, dressing up with the bell bottoms, the outfits, matching pants and shirts, and then the Stacey Adams shoes. So y'all was really digging. Y'all was digging. And that man has entitled to his opinion. They did. He did his thing. He did his thing. I'm glad he had the opportunity. But them jeans they was tight, they was snug, and he was kind of shaped like a woman. So I understand. So y'all just be picking the wrong battles to fight and to talk about. Oh my God, it's almost 10 minutes I've been talking. I'm looking at the time right. Oh my, I read my mouth so much. But back to that, and I'm about to close it up out here. And I just want to again drop the seed so we can have something to build on and talk about. But again, some of the messages are old. What are we gonna do in the future? Is this gonna help? Is this gonna harm us? Do people really care? That's the question you gotta ask. And you also gotta ask the miracle question. Is your world better with it or without it? Because right now, some of y'all act like y'all ain't got no damn sense. So, and we know we say, what's the best predictor of the future? It's your past. But a lot of people don't want to learn about their past. They barely want to know their family history. They shun on older people. You can't tell no stories, or you bring up older people, they crack jokes, oh, you old and this and that. We ain't do that. We value life. We looked
Mhm.
up to older people because they had lived their life. I'm 83 years old. I lived a good life. I got a pension. I got life insurance. And every turn around, I see y'all some damn GoFundMe. Maybe if y'all listen to some older people, you wouldn't be asking for some GoFundMe, or you wouldn't be crying over no damn food stamp service cut off, because you would know how to do something. We got to get it right, people. We got to get it right. So I don't know if I answered any questions because I'm kind of torn between it. But I'm gonna say this: if we're doing what we're doing now, it's never enough. So if you can't give me all 100%, don't give me no crumbs and nickel and dime me with no history. I want it all. I need it all. And with that said, people, I'm gone. Good night. I'm going to bed. I ain't gonna tell you what I'm gonna do tomorrow because I don't know what I'm gonna do. I am Auntie tired, but Auntie loves you. Thank you for the time, and just take something in that I said tonight. All right, good people. Y'all be good. All right, y'all enjoy. Supposed to snow a little bit again. It's early February. That snow ain't going away, so we be careful. Stay cool. Um, don't put yourself in no bad environments. If your ass don't know how to drive, stay off them roads. If you don't know how to drive, stay off them roads. All right, people. Love you all. Goodbye.
The Trailblazer.
Thank you, Auntie.
Man, I'm a grab a line that Auntie said that people really need to do a deep dive into, and them expand on it just a little bit. Are you better with it or without it? Now, I'm gonna put this disclaimer out here so people understand just where, or at least where I sit. I'm not here to suggest or tell you what you should do, only what I don't do. I don't partake in the celebration of Black History Month. I think it's needless. Now, what I mean by that is this: the celebration of Black history is not needless. The way in which we're doing it currently is needless. Why? Simple. We don't drive down the street every day and saying, there's a traffic light. Who's responsible for that invention? We don't do that. People that go to the hospital every day and need surgery, they don't say, I wonder who's responsible for the preservation of blood, for the invention of that. We don't do that. People that pick up the telephone, they don't think about the patents that go behind that, the inventions, the discoveries. No. It reminds me of a, a, a history class that I was sitting in on seventh grade, LASO preparatory history class. Well, I believe I may have said that. Mrs. Klingersmith, God bless her soul. I was sitting there, was standing there, and the kids just seemed disinterested. And I asked them, I said, how many of you guys think that history is important? And none of them raised their hands. Very few anyway. And I said, why is that? They said, we don't see the point of it because it doesn't help us every day. I said, really? They said, yeah. I said, Mrs. Klingersmith, do you mind if I step in and explain? She said, please, by all means. I said, I want everybody in this room who has a cell phone to hold up their phone. Hands go up. I said, how many inventions and discoveries did it take for you to get the version of that cell phone that you're holding in your hand? Well, not too many people knew, and I didn't know. I would have to sit down and do some research myself. So I'm not to be absolved of this, and I'm not above the crowd. I'm with the crowd. Only problem is I'm going a different way than most people. So I said, here's the deal. I said, every week until the end of the semester, I'm going to ask a question end of the year. And the person that gets the most right will get a yearbook. Yeah, no big deal to us adults, but for kids of that age, $50 is a lot. That's what the yearbooks are running, something like that, 50, 40 to $50. And I said, I want you to understand that you're in a competition with everybody in this classroom. So the person who gets the most correct, has the most correct answers to the questions I ask, they'll get a yearbook. What this does is it sets the template for not only the blacks that were in that class, the few Hispanics, and the Caucasian people. Because what happens is this: we start to take things for granted, especially when we don't understand how things function. And I'm not going to make this a political post or point, but I'm going to mention it. A lot of people are up in arms about the potential complete elimination of DEI. But here's what people don't understand. They don't understand the bedrock legislation that DEI is written on. So when we talk about Black history, I want those of you who are adamant about keeping DEI programs in place, go back and understand the legislation that is written on, since y'all want to talk about, y'all like to celebrate Black history. And when you find out, get back to the Big Bad Wolf and let me know what you actually find that enhances your understanding, and then you understand why we can't move forward. There's an economic component to everything that's done, except what? Black history. We don't profit from it. We don't make any movies about it. And the movies that we do make, we don't get to take on the lion's share of the money. Black Panther. Who produced that movie? We know who wrote it. We know who played in it. Yeah, they got some crumbs. Just like Auntie said, they got some crumbs. But they ain't get loaves. They won't let you make the bread, but they'll let you have some. So this is the problem that we have, and this is one of the reasons why I don't partake in Black history, because we don't celebrate Black inventions. They're listed as American inventions done by Black people, if they tell you who the Black person was. Elevators, they don't tell you who had a key component in that. Firemen, gas masks, they don't tell you about who had key components, inventions in that. Medicine, I mentioned that before. The list is endless. Music, culture, food. People don't stop to think about all the things that Black Americans specifically, because that's where most of this is originated from, even though it's celebrated by 6 countries on the continent of Africa. And most of those countries, with the exception of Canada and US, they're in Europe. Now ask yourself, outside of the continent of Africa and Brazil, I believe, why don't Blacks get more recognition? Why are we held in esteem the way other cultures and people are? No economic power, no basis. This is, I've always talked about Dr. Claude Anderson and what he talks about with his book, Powernomics. I guarantee you, I haven't read it, haven't picked it up yet, so I'm not absolving myself, but I guarantee you a lot of people still don't understand what he's talking about when he talks about the things that he does. And for as much as people ride down on Dr. Umar Johnson, at least his heart and his brain are in the right places. He keeps pushing schools. He keeps pushing the 5 pillars that a community, I think it's 5, that a community needs: hospital, education, banking, education, and I think there was one other thing. These are the things that we need to focus on. We have, as a people in the United States of America, we have a $1.4 trillion purchasing power. Just imagine what would happen if we took 1% of that per year and we put that aside and we started to actually build on that. We talk about Blacks can't get homes to go to banks. Why not have a national Black bank where homes can be financed external of what the Fed rate, the Fed interest rate is. The Fed interest rate is 4.5% or whatever it is, 3.7. How about we start lending money at 2.5%? You think the average Black family can't capitalize on that? I bet you they could. So now that you start to develop home ownership, guess what else you get? You get wealth. You get power. And once you start to get wealth and power, you can move regardless of our political philosophies and difference, you can move as a concentrated force, and you can actually start to move things, at least if not on a national level or on a state level, certainly in a local level. You can start to create your communities. Harlem's currently being gentrified, which is where the Black Renaissance started at. All these things, let me get off the soapbox. All these things should be looked at in totality on a day by day, week by week, month by month basis. So the elimination of Black History Month in its essence is looked at every day when people come to these places and they say, damn, yo, they doing a thing over here. Did you see what they built down the street? Who owns that? Just a bunch of Black people. That's what we need to focus on.
Let me just say this, then I'm gonna let Gavin come in. But it's gonna be hard to do that when we still scripted and follow everything that they do. Y'all about to blow some serious money on Valentine's Day. Y'all tell me who Valentine is. I respect it, but y'all about to go out, spend major money on that, something that could be going into your savings or whatever, but all because what? You want to compete with other people. You want to say, oh, look what my bae got me, and post it and take pictures. Back in the days when we didn't have all that, whatever you got, and that was that, and people was content with it. Now it's a competition. And you get tricked and sucked into all of these holidays. So you can't have it both ways. What you gonna do? You gonna talk like you woke 1 minute, but you still sleep. You sleepwalking. You sleepwalking, and you still follow everything that they say. What masters say go out and spend money on Valentine's Day, February 14th. That represent love. The hell they gonna tell me to spend? I spend money to show love whenever I get goddamn ready to do it. So if it's whatever day, if it's March 14th or whatever the case is, who like how do you like it's so like fake whatever? How do you get pumped up for something that you know everybody's getting something? Or wouldn't you just rather celebrate like a random thing that your man or woman you just out and they see something like, oh, he or she would like that, I'm gonna get this for them, or whatever the case is, without them even knowing it, and they just shocked like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. It's so scripted. Like, do what monkey see, monkey do whatever everybody else do, and that's the problem, because we freaking walking robots that listening, still getting hoodwinked and tricked into everything. But then y'all want to say y'all woke. Okay, Gavin, you got anything you want to add?
No, what you both of you said is right on the mark, on the money. Big Bad Wolf again. How you mentioned about just using a percentage of that $1.4 trillion that's out there, and then Brother Glover again, how we educating the kids and what's the money being spent. Like case in point. Okay, so this is Black History Month. Woohoo! And if you're on internet right now, you're seeing some trailers for Tom Cruise's movie that's gonna be coming out called Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Go back to Top Gun. What does Top Gun have to do with Black history?
Anybody in the chat want to take a stab at that? Top Gun was a program that was developed by the United States Air Force to be able to train white pilots to become as good as pilots as their Black brethren. They needed them. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they needed them because they were being outperformed by Black pilots. Supposed to have been inferior to. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gavin.
Well, Top Gun actually, yes and no. Okay, so all right. So Top Gun, yes, there is actuality. The Navy has a top fighter pilot training program at Miramar. I don't think it's at Miramar base anymore. I think it's another base, but it's called Top Gun. However, the Navy program was started about 20 years after the Air Force program. The Air Force first started the Top Gun program competition in 1949, just a few years after the Air Force was created. And that first competition, who was the first group to win the Air Force Top Gun? A selection from the Tuskegee Airmen. And when I say they won that competition, just like last night, how the Eagles blew the, I'm trying not to cuss, but like just whomped on KFC, the Tuskegee Airmen in outdated airplanes whooped on their white competitors and won that Top Gun trophy. What did the Air Force do after that? Oh, the trophy went missing, unaccounted for. We don't know what the winner's name is, whatnot, and it just got put up somewhere. Until somebody found it and then made a correction, and there we are. Now, here's an interesting note to cap it off. During the first Trump administration, President Trump found a surviving Tuskegee Airman and promoted him to full brigadier general.
Ooh.
Charles McGee. Now, how can, this is what I don't like. The whole vitriol about they're saying about, you know, whether you like him or not, but let's look at the truth. He did that. That's not well known. But what about when we had a black man in the White House for 8 years? He never found a Tuskegee Airman and promoted him. Plus, on top, let's move to the Navy. Anybody familiar with the Golden 13?
I'm not.
Golden 13 during World War II, when they were trying to desegregate the military. Prior to World War II, there were no black men who were naval officers, so they created a program for black men to receive naval officer training. There was a class of 16. All the candidates passed the program. Navy said, whoa, 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 whoa. No. All 16 passed. But the Navy said, we're only going to make 12 of you officers. Why? Because prior to that, the passing rate was 25%. How are you going to have black men who take the training and the exam where white boys pass at a 25% fail rate and they on the first time all 100% of that class passes? Oh, hell no. So the Golden 13 are the 12 that were given the rank of ensign, and one of the others who passed the program as well, he was given the rank of a chief warrant officer. The rest, those 4, never got their due. And I think the last one just died a few years ago.
Now, I want to follow up with what Gavin has said and a couple points that just so people understand what the ranks are. For ensign in the Navy, that's the lowest grade of rank that you can reach in the commission levels.
Yes.
A warrant officer is the equivalent to a sergeant major.
Correct.
Just so people understand the levels and tiers of progression in terms of rank. Now,
right.
I want to throw something else out to the masses who still wish to celebrate Black History Month. Like I said, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I just don't do it because I think it's outmoded. This is what I want y'all to do. I want y'all to get a pin. That's right, a PIN that you can wear on your lapel. And every day when you go to work, I want you to wear that pin. Some people gonna say that's stupid. That don't make no sense. Fair enough. Let me humor you. When you look at your elected officials, what pin are they wearing? Oh, they're wearing one of the United States of America proudly on their left lapel, I think it is. Why? Because they want you to know what they represent. They want you to know what they think. They want you to know what they ideologically represent. So if you ideologically represent Black history, then why not wear that pin on that lapel that symbolizes where your ideological thoughts are and belong, where your people come from? I challenge you people that like Black history, that thinks it should be celebrated, to do that year round and watch the kind of vitriol that you get, watch the kind of sneers that you get, watch what people say and think about you, either in your face, and most of them are cowards, they'll do it behind your back. This is why I don't celebrate it, because nobody pays attention to it outside of the month of February. The 11 months they're going with their life as if Black history doesn't exist, even though every day they're using inventions and creations and discoveries that were made by Black people. I want you. That's my challenge. I'm throwing down the gauntlet for y'all. Do it.
Big
And
Bad Wolf.
Let me know what your results are.
Big Bad Wolf. How about
Yes.
this? Brother Glover,
Yes.
sir, you're a teacher or counselor in the school program, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what grade are you teach?
Deal with seventh graders, pretty much all of them.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Is it possible, because today is what, the 10th? All right, so we're still early in the month of February. Is it possible for you to get your students involved in a project for each one of them to sit down and write a letter and submit it in an email to whoever it is that is your congressional representative in your area, the two senators and whoever is the House representative for your area, for this suggestion? For those 4 men in the Navy who did not get their due of rank of ensign, they passed the program, submitted to their congressional representatives as, hey, and not only that, also talk to the members of the Congressional Black Caucus and say, even better, maybe you should start with them first and say, hey, this is a wrong that needs to be righted. And while we're in Black History Month, can you please go about it? Because I think all of them have passed away now, but can it still be done posthumously? Brother Glover, do you think does that sound feasible?
Well, anything with these school districts, it kind of have to be kind of approved. So I guess administration and the principal would have to approve it. And how, I just don't know if that would be something that would happen within this month time frame, because they're going to look at it, and which it would tie in. It probably would have to come more from like the social studies department or something, and they would probably have to talk to the head and say, okay, can our students write this letter? We're covering this area. This deals with such and such part of the curriculum. So it's a whole process that they probably would have to go through, because of course they would want to, like, okay, we got to make sure this is right before we have any of our students send anything out to any politicians and stuff. So it would be a process that would have to get approved.
Let me jump in here right behind David. David's absolutely correct when it comes to the school board, school districts, pardon me, and trying to get those kinds of things pushed through. Here's the rub. Those students can do that on their own and have their parents, pay attention, facilitate that to their elected officials. So not only are you doing it on just your your elected officials district, You're doing it on a statewide. So not only do you get just a one person doing it, you get multiple people doing it. And this is why voting becomes important. Because what those congressional leaders are going to do is say, what district is this coming from? Do these people vote? We ain't paying attention. Take that stuff, ball it up, throw it in the garbage. But if you do vote, guess what? Why do you think there's an anti-Asian hate bill that was passed? Because they vote. Why do you think DEI is being targeted the way it is? Oh, because they know those people vote. Going back to what Garvin said about President Obama being elected, President Obama, when he tried to pass, and I can't remember the name, My Brother's Keeper, he was undercut. Guess by who? I won't tell you that. You have to go dig into the archives and find out who undercut those programs. But I assure you, it wasn't black men. So when we talk about these things, it behooves people to pay attention and to start asking questions about things that they don't have a firm grasp on, and go find out this stuff. What Garvin mentioned about the Golden 13, what do you think the movie Tuskegee Airmen was built on? If it hadn't been, as the movie depicted, if it hadn't been for Eleanor Roosevelt taking that trip down there to Tuskegee, Alabama, those men would have never got to see the light of day. And it was bad enough that when they got into the theater, they were sent on bombing runs. They rarely got the chance to see frontline combat until the Air Force then was taking unacceptable losses. So this stuff you see in those movies, it's accurate. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever talks about the Buffalo Soldiers. Rarely. Nobody ever talks about the Red Ball Express. Rarely. Why? Because those aspects of Black history don't matter. See, it's easy to keep a group controlled if you give them the illusion of freedom. And that's what Black history is. Y'all get 1 month, or they give you 1 month a year, so you run amok talking about Black history. But you don't listen to rap, jazz, R&B, blues, rock. You don't listen to those musical genres just 1 month out of the year. You listen to them all the time. Even classical music, you don't listen to that 1 month a year. You listen to it all the time. This is what we try and get across to people. Stop limiting yourself. Let me put it to you like this. Celebrating Black history is the equivalent of only eating one kind of food for your entire life. I don't think I can do that shit. I got to have this. I got to have this. I got to have this. Treat Black history the same way. If you want to eat, like money means nothing, do you have to be able to earn like money's nothing? They say the biggest impediment that we have as Black people is we don't work together. And I want to fight against that, but I look at things and I say, you know what? It's agreement. We look at the deportations that are going on right now, and there are people of Hispanic ethnicity who are putting out videos saying we don't need Black people. We as an ethnicity, we work together. So whatever happens, we can get each other's back. But now you see them on here protesting, asking for the help of who? Black people. Why? Because we've always been front and center when it comes to civil rights. Everybody, and I mean everybody, eats off the Black plate. Everybody. There's not an ethnic group in this country and damn near the world that don't eat off of a Black plate. And I mean that when I say it. The biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action, Caucasian women. Where do you think they're taking that money back to? It ain't coming back to neighborhoods like mine. It ain't coming back to neighborhoods like yours. It's going to their family. And it should. They should be building up their own economic basis. I have no problem with that. The problem I have is with the people that are helping them side by side, lockstep, and then wonder why they can't find men suitable to marry and raise kids with, because you're giving away the fucking farm. You give away the farm, guess what? You can't grow your own food. You can't store your own food. You can't feed your own people. Shout out to Dr. Umar, one of the pillars he talks about. Let me get off my soapbox, man. I'm good. I'm starting to rant right now. I don't want to do that. BGS moment. I'm sorry.
All good. And, that I want to focus on. I think one of Auntie's points when she was saying, even with the younger generation, how how can we move forward with this when some people our age wasn't well versed in Black history because they all of a sudden they're woke now, and that's only limited. Limited, like I said, they're still sleepwalking, and so how where's this gonna happen at if the parents, when we say parents are the first teachers, but they had limited information on that. We know the schools are really not delivering that message. And again, we talk about the 28-day celebration where you have, a church here, one or two may have a program, a Black History program. A school may offer a Black History program. But I think, as Daphne said, it's kind of watered down.
Mhm.
It's like watered down. It's only giving you a small uh, synopsis of the whole situation. So a lot of times it's like people get misled information. They like don't don't have enough information to put everything together. So we always was given bits and pieces. Some people were acquisitive to say, you know what, I'm going to look more into that. I'm going to start reading. I want to see what this person is about, this and that. And I can tell you I work because my brothers were like that. Once they got a hold of that as youngsters, they were like 13, 14.
I recall.
Start reading everything. And I was a couple years older, but I never learned or understood, knew anything about that. So they were schooling me on a lot of things. Which got me to read certain things as the older brother. So it could happen, but those are kind of rare cases, and they kind of galvanized because it was older, brothers or men that pulled them in. But this generation, hmm, I would look at it if you're at a school and you got five, six, seven, eight Black men, and you got like several Black women. I would think they would gravitate like, man, let me follow under their leadership. Ah, we the ones, not so much me or some of the other ones, but some of them, we're the ones they cussing out, carrying on, texting their parents about. And I have to say, damn, that could be your uncle, that could be your aunt. And that ain't my aunt. That ain't such and such. That ain't nothing to me. So how do we move forward with that when we got like a reluctant population of people who not willing to learn? And like I said, it's a privilege, whatever, as a Black person to be at a school and you got like, oh, like it's a great percentage of the staff is Black. They look like me. Man, we got a math teacher that teach math look like me.
Mhm.
Social studies, uh, science, math. Man, we got a Black counselor,
Mhm.
guy counselor. It's not enough. And I think Vicky said Black people been whining and complaining for years. We are never happy, and that is true for some people. Like it's never enough, and it then when the children or the students act that way, then their parents come through. You know where it come from. You're like, wow, wow.
Mhm.
So this is the dilemma. What's going to happen with this? How is it going to take place when so many of us have limited information ourselves?
Well, to some degree, and again, let me ask you, Brother Glover, in your area, in your community, are there any, is there at least one Black owned bank? Ouch.
Nope.
Okay, what about any Black accountants?
I mean,
Damn.
there could be some, just don't know about it.
Okay. Black professionals in the insurance industry.
I'm sure it's some of those here.
Yeah, I think we have some. I couldn't name you any offhand, but yeah.
Life insurance.
Mhm.
Okay. But Brother Herb, you sure there's not a single black owned bank?
In Niagara Falls, we have a lot of branch banks. So, for instance, I bank at Key Bank. I also have
At
accounts at Key Bank. Key Bank is a
Key-
regional bank. It's a
Okay.
regional bank mostly in the Northeast. I have credit card accounts with several, but Key Bank is the bank that I primarily bank at. There's a Northwestern Bank. Lockport Savings and Bank Insurance went national. They had an IPO, so I can't remember what that company moved to, and forgive me for that. But there's only a handful of black banks in the United States of America, and this is what I was getting at with the $1.4 trillion purchasing power that we have.
Okay.
If we take just 1% of that, just 1%, and we create a black bank, a national black bank.
All right. What about credit unions? Are there any black owned credit unions in Niagara Falls?
There's only one or two credit unions that I'm aware of, and neither one of them are black owned or even black financed.
Okay.
And
What about loan officers
I don't know of any loan officers.
that are black?
I mean, I'm sure, yeah, there's some, but those type of positions, it's not like it's advertised, or you have to have a purpose to even find out who these people are.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's, like, police officers or some position that's up front that people would know about and say, oh, that's black police officer, black fireman, or teachers or things like that. Like a loan officer, they wouldn't probably people wouldn't probably identify with that, especially like young people.
Correct. Now, I will say this. Growing up, we knew of the handful of black police officers that there were. We had one that was a sergeant before he retired, and I forgot his name just that quick. But his son ended up ascending to the second highest rank in the city before he ran for mayor. Shout out to Carl.
You
This
talking
is
about Lamar, the father,
Yeah.
Lamar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. This is what we talk about when we talk about black male leadership. The problem is, as Greg has pointed out with his comment, there's so few and so far of us between that when one is seen, he's not given the respect that he's fought for. And that starts in the home. And regardless of the ethnicity, it's become endemic in the American culture to not respect men. Because men, for whatever reason, and you can talk about it however you want to among yourself, friends, or family, men are deemed as dispensable. Why? Because there's this push to make men and women equal, except when it comes to certain things. And I've often talked about this before. There's still pushback on making a draft. I'm sorry, not the draft, but selective service open to every citizen that turns 18. They don't want to do that. Why? Well, women are deemed as indispensable. Shout out to Rollo Tomasi. He often says eggs are expensive, sperm is cheap. And I'm not, engaging in red pill rhetoric. I'm just letting you know there's only two countries that I'm aware of that makes military service compulsory, regardless of gender. One of them is Israel.
Yep.
Particular reason behind it. So when we talk about these things, we don't do it in a vacuum, but you guys listen to it and think about it in a vacuum because that's the way it impacts your life. And I understand this is why we always tell you to expand your understanding of the world that you live in. Now, let me get back to Black history. If we want our kids to understand the way that things are taught in different aspects or different areas of this country. Most of us have relatives that live in another state. You know what you do with your kids? You pack them up for the summer. They're closed. Say, hey, you're going to live with your aunt in this state. And they're going to rebel. Why? Because you're taking everything and everyone that they know and you're saying, hey, you're going to be away from them for a while. And it's okay. You know why? Because it's a learning experience. You're going to give them a learning experience that is invaluable, incalculable, and the things that they will learn, they will take with them. They will come back and they'll say, well, wait a minute. Why are we doing this here this way when we can do it this way? And somebody's going to say, because that's the only way I know how. You can say, hey, well, look, let me show you something. Bing, bing, bow. Where'd you learn that? Oh, I learned that down here on the farm when I went to stay with my aunt or my uncle. Because my family did that. We have family in Florida. I was the only one of the kids that didn't get down. They didn't get the opportunity to go down to Florida and stay for a summer. And my brothers, they talk about it relentlessly, and I'm envious because I never got to do it. I never got the time to spend with my aunts or my aunt and my cousins, and it's great. We often talk about the disassociation with family, and you know what? And we wonder why. We don't take that time to say, hey, except family reunions, hey, go chill with your cousins. Go to Los Angeles. Go see the world. Matter of fact, let's get your passport set. You got some distant relatives in Germany. Let's go send you to stay with your uncle in Germany. My uncle in Germany. I never knew I had an uncle in Germany. Next thing you know, you got a black kid that comes back from Germany. He's fluent in German, or she's fluent in German. And people will say, "What the hell did you learn to speak German at?" Oh, I was with my friends overseas, and we were lederhosen, talking about bratwurst, and you got a kid, 10, 11 years old, fluent in German. Guess what that does for that kid? It opens up economic opportunities. And I talk about this on the show all the time. Learn a language. Do something different. It's a door you open. And every door you open allows you to earn more money. It allows you to spread your culture. Because wherever we go as people, we don't leave our culture behind. We don't leave the way we dress behind. We take it with us. How do you think people know what Americans look like? How do you think they know what our music is? Our biggest export as a country is our culture. Mike Tyson, Prince, Michael Jackson, they're known worldwide. Worldwide. And that's a part of the culture that when I talked about I don't celebrate, and just about that's why. I'm going to ask people a question. This past year in the Olympics, what new event was added that was just a cultural phenomenon?
Breakdancing.
It was horrible.
Tell me about it.
Yes, I agree the way they did it was. But guess what? The world now knows about breakdancing. Where did that
They know about breakdancing before the Olympics.
Well, no, yeah. I'm just saying they know about it. They know what isn't.
Yes.
now
that.
they can say, hey, look, that ain't breakdancing. Get that bullshit out of here.
But the comments like Greg is making, he said, is that black students any less wrong if he disrespects a white teacher? Is a white student somehow more terrible if he disrespects a black teacher? The wokeness is trying to make disrespecting a teacher somehow a racial issue. All right, so I'm gonna give an example. Like I said, today we had, I think he was an intern, but he was in the cafeteria, and I guess he was over at a table where it was like well, my school is majority black, but it was some bunch of black girls. So they came up to me, Mr. Glover, who the hell is that white man telling us to sit down? Yeah. He keep getting in our face, telling us to sit down. He keep talking to me. I don't know him. He need to get away from me. And I'm like, He said, I said, I don't know who he is either. I said, but maybe you should ask, like, excuse me, I'm such and such. Who are you? Like, I'm not talking to him. I don't talk to people. I don't care who he is. And I was like, well, he's an adult in the building. So I guess he probably just told y'all to have a seat. And, they were upset about it. Then one of the girls came to my office later and she's like, Mr. Glover, like, I'll listen to you. She said, but I'll barely, like, if you told me to sit down, I'll sit down. But I'll barely listen to you. And then I looked at her. She's like, what? Like, she said, but you can't expect me to listen to somebody that I don't know who's telling me to sit down and I don't know who they are. So a lot of it is like trust.
Mhm.
The race component, a lot of it is built on trust. So the race has everything to do with how
Mm.
people respond. So it's just not like, oh, they're a teacher, so I'm supposed to respect them. It just, in the ideal world, that would be perfect. So even I was trying to, as an adult, say, well, it's an adult in the building. Uh, so you should listen. They like students don't check for that. They don't know who that person is. So you're telling somebody to sit down. Maybe on his part, he should have like, hey, how y'all doing? I'm such and such. Uh, and they would have might have had a better idea. But if you're somebody just showing up, whether you're a substitute and they say, hey, you can come there and work lunch duty, and you're telling kids to sit down, and they never seen you before,
Yeah.
not gonna work. Not
Okay,
gonna work.
Brother Glover, who was that person? Was he a substitute? What was his position?
I think he was an intern who probably came down. An intern teacher probably came down and said, well, I want to go in the, learn the cafeteria duty to kind of mingle with kids. But that's what I think. I've seen him maybe once before.
Mhm.
So that was his role.
It's a
All right.
it's
Here's the issue I have with that young lady who said to you, Mr. Glover, who's this guy, whatever. One thing, how old was she, roughly speaking? What age bracket?
I think she's 13.
Huh?
13.
13. From, okay, from how she said it, I mean, how, all right, what you presented just now, it almost sounds to me, and I deal with this as a supervisor here at my job here in LA. She almost sounds entitled, like they got a kowtow, somebody in a position of authority got a kowtow to her for whatever reason, rather her realizing, wait a minute, I'm a student, I'm in a institution, a place of learning, and there are different levels of authority here in this building. Case in point, I have a friend of mine, a good friend of mine. He is a teacher. Well, he used to be a teacher. Now now he's a supervisor in the security profession that I'm with, but at a different company at a prestigious post. But long story short, when he was teaching in the school system, he started with LA Unified, then went into a charter school. When he was at the charter school, pushback he got, unfortunately, was from our people. It was a mixed demographic of students he had at that charter school. He had Black, he had Latino, Asian, and he also, yeah, and Latino and Asian. Culturally speaking, which group do you think showed him the respect you as him being a teacher?
I was
Asian.
in this,
Oh, there you
okay, yeah,
The
yeah.
parents, especially the parents who came to him and say, hey, my son, my daughter, told me how you teach so well. He taught science. A Black man at a charter school teaching science. And he taught at the middle school level. He was there for several years. It's just kind of, you already know me. You know what? You hear the side, you guys have known me long enough. And I'll let you
It's,
continue on. I pass the baton to you, Brother Glover, and Big Bad Wolf. Go ahead.
it's levels. It's levels
Yeah.
to this. what Vicky said, kids don't give a damn anymore. And guess what? They get that from home. And that's true. And Cass said something that makes it sound like young black women are being taught to distrust whites, training them to be racist. No, I think the message, like a lot of kids, if it's a stranger, they're leery. So therefore, I think as an adult, they're kids.
Yeah.
They're kids. So as an adult, hey, I'm such and such. I'm Mr. Robinson's intern. I'm you kind of got to build your way and work your way into it, like peeling like an onion, so they can know, like, oh, you Mr. Robinson intern. Oh, what does an intern do? You have to have something. You just can't come in there, sit down. Y'all have a seat. Excuse, if they don't see you, if they never seen you before, they're not gonna do it. They barely do it for adults that they see on a regular basis. So as a random, so they came to me like, who is this man back there keep telling us to sit down? We are sitting down, but he won't go away. And I'm like, well, I think it's such as I said, ask him who he is. And they're like, no, I'm not, I don't care who he is, but he needs to get away from us.
Yeah.
Now
But
they
here,
got the smart mouth and all of that stuff. I mean, that comes, I guess it just comes with the territory. Some battles you're not going to win. So it's not worth the stress level to keep going back and forth. So
okay.
I try to give them jewels and let them know, like, well, maybe you should, if you was curious enough to know, you should have said, excuse me, sir, who are you? Then you would have got to understand it. They're like, well,
But
I don't
here's the thing. That child or those children are not gotta realize when you grow up and you're an adult and you go into this world, you're going somewhere that already has a structure. They're not catering to you. You're applying and working at a job or you're in the military or whatever. You got to understand what are the mores, regulations, and code of conduct in that area you are in. You're going into. Case in point, why I'm going down this route. At my job, at my post, once again, for those in the chat or wherever, I do security. A young man was I don't think he was fired, but he was definitely removed from the post because we had a position that was available. They brought in this gentleman. He was interviewed, and the director said, okay, I'm going to give you a shot to see how you can do in your probationary period to see if you can really find this suitable for what we need. Within less than a month, he was let go. Why? Because he had the attitude, and this was a young man in his mid-20s. And unfortunately, he was a brother. And he had that attitude like he knew everything.
Yeah.
When his supervisor is explaining to him, okay, this is what is done and why it's done a certain particular way at this post, the guy would say, oh, I know that. Next thing I know, within a month, he's gone. And when I ask around, well, see, he worked a different shift for me. I worked day shift, he worked swing shift. But he would sometimes relieve me because he was my relief. Brother Big Bad Wolf, you know how I'm going. I would go in security.
Yeah.
So when I look around, I see, hey, where's Glover? Oh, they say he's gone because he got into it with his supervisor. He finally told his supervisor off. I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? And that, unfortunately, is what's going on nowadays. Now, that was a young man in his mid-20s who conducted himself that way at a job. He felt that his boss should cater to him or look at things from his perspective. No, how are you going to learn what is expected of you and be trained to stand up and meet the standards if you feel, oh, you know everything and you just want to do it your way?
I understand.
It's difficult, man. And I'll follow Dave's example, with the intern. When I started volunteer mentoring at Laso Prep, I didn't go in there with any authority that an adult has. And there's a particular reason why. Having worked with kids before, I understand two things about kids. And one is David is absolutely correct. If I don't know you, I'm not listening to you. And that has more to do with what's taught at home. Vicky said it too. These kids, regardless of their ethnicity, are being instructed, hey, look, you do this, you do this. I don't care what your teachers are telling you, you do what I tell you. And what they don't realize, and Greg is right on, they're setting them up for failure. Because if there's an emergency situation and I'm the only adult in the class for whatever reason, and I'm a volunteer mentor or I'm a teacher's assistant, if I say to do something, guess what? You better do it. Not because I'm the authority, it's because I know more than you do. And David is absolutely correct. These kids think they know more than the adults until something happens, and then all of a sudden they want to defer to the adult. By then, the adult is going with the kids that listen, and it's too late. So we can't ask adults to behave as adults if the parents at home are going to tell them, you don't have to listen to that adult. This is the conundrum that these teachers find themselves in. So when the kids are failing and the parents want answers, look in the mirror. If you're not telling your child to go to school, sit your behind down, and you listen to what the adults tell you in the building, then you're setting the foundation for your kids to not succeed.
And there was a book written by a black man who was a teacher, and it's interesting because this was way back in the 50s, I believe, late 50s, early 60s, and it was made into a movie. The black man who was a teacher, and he was in England. His name was Ricardo Braithwaite, and the title of the book, To Serve with Love. It was made into a movie starring Sidney Poitier, and they changed the name of the character to Mr. Mark Thackeray. Now, for anybody who's read the book and seen the movie, and I've done both, you remember he let them know there is a curriculum where you got to conduct yourself in this class. I will hold myself to that standard, and you too as well. And they showed an aspect where some of the students' parents understood where he was coming from and say, this is sir. He had a young lady who was rebellious to her own mother, but the way he held himself in class, she was always talking about him with respect to her mother, and the mother came to him and said, please help me out, sir, because my daughter won't listen to me. That's what's needed today.
Yeah.
Like you said, the parents don't have that. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not with them then to teach their children, hey, listen to what he or she has to say. There's a reason why they're a teacher. They know, and they're going to help you to learn more than just 1 + 1 and your ABCs. Mr. Thackeray is going to teach you about life skills. He's going to give you another aspect that I may not know of, but that will help enrich you and help you as you move along and go into adulthood.
And this is where, and people, some people may say that doesn't help my family, and I understand. Every lesson is not going to be transferable to everybody at every time in every situation. This is why it's good sometimes, and you got to make sure that the individual that they're following has the right attitude and progression in life for your kids to mimic. I want to make a point of this. Shannon and Sterling Sharp, first brothers to be inducted into the Football Hall of Fame. Shannon, which is the younger of the two, was talking to his brother as they sat down, and he told him, he said, you are directly responsible for my success. And there was a reason why Dad was harder on you than he was on me. He said, you set the blueprint for my success. He said, you didn't have all these other things out here that guide you. You did it on your own. And he said, the trail that you blaze, I follow, which is probably one of the reasons why Shannon went into the Hall of Fame and has Super Bowl rings other than Sterling's career being cut short, because he followed the template that was set. A lot of these kids that are coming from the parents of Gen X don't have a template. And what I mean by that is this. If you look at the number of these kids that are being born in single parent homes, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just setting the table for you. There is no masculine figure present that can, and we talked about this before, when we talked about who taught you how to be a man, who taught you how to be a woman. Where did you learn from? They're not learning from anyone. So they're learning from what they see on TV, from what they hear in music, from what they're watching movies, which is ineffective and sometimes a detriment to them. So get them with somebody you see as an adult and say, you know what? That's a 16-year-old kid, AB student. They're in the sports. They don't hang out with the out crowd or the in crowd, because kids are going to gravitate towards the things that they like, towards the things that make them feel good, because they want that immediate gratification. And there's nothing wrong with immediate gratification, except when it comes to things that you need to delay that immediate gratification. Well, let's look at it like this. Kids are sent to school for what? People say to learn. To learn what? Math? No. You can teach a kid math at home. You can teach a kid science at home. That's easy. You put a pot of cold water on there, you add heat, it gets hot. Kids understand that. That's basic science. You send your kids to school so they can become social creatures, so they can function in the environment that they are raised in. Shout out to BGS. He always talks about the Prussian school system, except we never look at it like that. The kids are sent to school so they can get along with other people, period. Homeschool was a thing 100 years ago, before the Department of Education was really created. Teach your kids at home. Why do you think charter schools are coming about all of a sudden now? Because your kids get better grades, because it's going to allow them to go to a better college. Okay, big deal. I think Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of college. Where is he sitting at now, on top of, among the world's elite economically? Can't calculate. That man's very wealthy. What we have to understand is this. The culture that a kid is immersed in is going to teach him or her more than any school ever. And I mean that, ever. So you take a kid, and like I said, you take a kid from the United States of America and you send them over to Europe, Germany, France, Italy. That kid is going to come back changed. I guarantee you. Why? One, they're going to have to learn a whole new culture. They're going to have to learn a whole new language. So they're going to come back with a part of them developed that the kids domestically absolutely don't have.
Especially when they go to Italy and France, they see how a whole new parental structure, parental culture. They think it's the same everywhere,
Right.
because the American culture is so influential per se outside in the world. But when they go out abroad and see, oh, a mother or father says this is to be done, it's expected, and it is done.
And
That
guess what?
child,
Go ahead.
that child will say, wait a minute, I can't go to that, because they don't let you know this house. No, not because he's an American, because he don't know how to conduct himself here. He don't respect my home. We don't have that here. Totally different culture.
Yeah.
And that American kid will either say, I'm never coming back, or learn to quickly adapt, and they will change on their own. They will have it within them. They're going to make that choice. And that'll be a mature choice for them to make. Now, when they come back, wow, culture shock for them. They're going to see, wait a minute, now they're going to look at the American culture through a really new set of eyes. In other words, these scales will be removed.
Well, let's not get it twisted. Let's go back to my particular situation. Again, we're talking about kids, and I
Yeah.
know a lot of it come from the parents and all that. But as an adult, what I learned from counseling 101, you have to find a way to kind of manipulate a situation and try to get them kids to follow you
Yeah.
or to understand and respect you. Let's not be crazy to act like we wouldn't if some random person came up and said sit out. We wouldn't have said. We probably would have thought about it's going to be more repercussions from our day that our parents would say, "Oh, adults is this." You listen to an adult, but we probably would have said, like, "Who the hell are you talking to? Who is this person?" We would
Yeah.
have chat. Maybe not so much at school, but if it was in the community or something, and somebody said, "Hey, uh, uh, back away from that car," or "Stop touching this," or we'd have looked and a gang full of us were like, "Yo, shut the hell up," or whatever the case is. We definitely would have
Yeah.
pushed different buttons. Some buttons, and I could say some like some of my boys, or whatever, they might have challenged, did more challenging stuff at school. I was kind of, well, I never really got in trouble, but I always thought like I didn't want to get in trouble because
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with the wrath of my grandmother and stuff like that. Just that lecture and all that stuff. So I always tried to do the right thing. But these kids, again, it's consistency and trust that that wins them over. So I think as an adult, when if it was your first time there, you have to tell a kid who you are. Like, hey, I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm interning to be a teacher, and I'm just trying to help out. That go a long way.
Yeah.
to continue to say, sit down, and sit down, and they don't know who you are. I always tell this story. My first day, especially in middle school, my first days in middle school, I remember I was in a school with no air conditioning. It was like 90 something degrees.
Oh.
I sweated through my shirt, and I had to go do presentations or whatever. It might not have been the first, it might have been the second or third. Had to go in the classroom. They didn't know who I was, never met me, no introduction. But they're in the eighth grade, last year middle school, and I'm their counselor after they had a counselor for 2 years. So when I come in there, I remember one class, and remember, I'm sweating bullets. Shit, I never worked in these at the brand new, pretty much a brand new high school building, and they like, yo, who that? and they're like, I don't know who that is. They're like, I think we see them in the cafeteria, and they like, no, who that? Then they like, who that sweaty motherfucker? And I was like, wow. And I remember that, but they kept seeing, they seen me around, and it got to a point that these same people started coming to my office. And one day I brought it up and I mentioned it to her. I said, yeah, I remember when I came here, and it was like, yo, Mr. Glover, we thought, I remember that. And I said, I think it was one of y'all. And I kind of pointed them out. And then one girl said, I think it was me. I said, I ain't know y'all from a can of paint. I'm just in the classroom. It was like a blur. And then it was like, well, we didn't know who you were at that time. That's why we were like that. And it was like, but you are man's now. So I built trust. They watched how I moved. Uh, they seen consistency. And once you get them on your side, you got to cut the head of the snake too. Once you get one of the leaders in the classroom and they get on your side, it go it go a long way. Because I remember the same time doing presentations, the teacher had a bell to ring for them to be quiet. Now they didn't know me, so they kept talking. The teacher told them to be quiet. They didn't listen, and I'm not into yelling and all that stuff. So I'm like, all right, this is out of because I'm used to doing presentations at college, high school, and all that. Hey, this is out of hand. And one girl probably seen like, damn, he looked frustrated, but he seemed like a nice guy. Don't like agree with the method, she said, but it worked. She eventually told them to shut the fuck up while this man is up here trying to help us and trying to tell us about how to get ready for high school, and y'all being disrespectful and y'all talking. And they shut up. And the teacher was like, excuse me, well, she older now, Layla, I think we got this. She's like, no, y'all didn't have it. And I want to get this information because I want to know what I need to do to get ready for high school. And they all shut up. She became my girl after that. Started coming to see me. She was my soldier. But she seen something and they kind of watch you. They watch everything you do. Everything you do. Yeah. And once you get their clearance, you all right. But you got to be able to give them something. You just can't come barking orders. Unfortunately, as an adult, that don't work.
Yeah, I like to use this analogy because I think it's pretty apropos. It's like dealing with the new cat that you're just getting. That cat's not going to listen to you. It isn't until that cat thinks it can trust you until it starts to listen to you, no matter what you do, because that cat doesn't know you. And this is what David is talking about. We're in a different culture now. We have to. That's the first thing we have to do is to acknowledge that the ways that we were reared on, they're no longer relevant. So to what David is saying again, you have to find a way to reach out to these kids. And this is one of the things, aside from what David is doing, this is one of the things I found to be effective. You can ask them this. This is kind of the stick in the carrot. Why are you here? And some of them will look at, well, I got to be here. No, you don't. You can always go play hooky. Well, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I get in trouble. From who? The school district, maybe my parents. You say, okay, so you here. How about you do this? How about while you here, you learn something? I don't care what it is. Either learn something or just don't disrupt everybody else from learning. The authority is embedded in you. What you have to understand is how to use the authority to get them to understand that, hey, you're not hurting me, but you're hurting your friends, you're hurting the teacher, you're hurting the building. That's selfish.
You're hurting yourself.
Yes, you're going to get to a point in life where the only person that you hurt now is going to be yourself. Because I remember going into the in-school suspension room, and I sat down with one of the kids, and I said, why are you in here? Well, because another boy said this to me, and I said, oh. But he didn't get in trouble. I said, but you're here. I said, and I always ask this question. What is the easiest thing for a person to do? Absolutely nothing. It requires no energy, no effort. And some people will say, no. Being quiet requires some effort. No, it doesn't. Sitting there requires no effort, none whatsoever. And this is what you have to get these kids to understand is that sometimes when somebody says something to you, just raise your hand and say, teacher, this student is bothering me. Can you put me somewhere else where I'm not bothered? I come here and I'm trying to learn. Guess what you've done now as a student? You've exhibited maturity, responsibility, and you learn how to place the accountability where it needs to be. So guess what now? The teacher has been put on record, not by you, but by the rest of the students in the class. So when you go home to your parents, you can say, I asked to be moved and they didn't move me. Now you give your parents some ammunition. So when your parents go into the school, they don't look like idiots when they're talking to the authorities. They can say, I believe my child asked to be moved. Why wasn't my child not moved? Guess what the principal got to do now? The principal's got to go to the teacher and say, well, why wasn't the student moved? The student asked to be moved. And the student not only has his word or her word, they have the word of the classroom. Because the student can say, ask anyone in the classroom. This is what we have to teach students, that you do have some power. But you have to learn how to use it constructively so you can get yourself out of jams that you didn't put yourself in. But too often we want to try and drill, we want to try and push square pegs in round holes, and then we wonder why they don't fit. So these are the things we have to empower the students with so they understand that going forward, you don't have to like everybody you work with. You don't have to respect everybody you work with, but you have to learn how to get along with the people you work with. So when you start to do that, you start to understand the larger ramifications of work culture. So even if I'm dealing with somebody who comes from a different culture, I understand that I'm here to get a job done. That's number one. Number two, I'm not here to upset the fabric of the work atmosphere. So if the handbook says I come to work and I can't wear this and I can't wear that, guess what? I'm not going to wear it. If the handbook says I need to do this so this can be done, I'm going to do this so I can get it done. I got the other 16 hours of the day to do what I want to, but here I'm part of the team. This is why when you go to the military, they have boot camp. They strip everybody down so everybody's the same. They bring you up so everybody's the same. It's not till you get different till you start to hit the ranks. You start to hit lance corporal, sergeant, sergeant major, and then you get into your commissions. This is what we don't teach the kids in this generation. So you got one kid thinking their culture is more dominant than this one, when they fail to realize that there is no such thing as a dominant culture. There is a such thing as a dominant class. Now, what do you want to be? Part of the dominant class or part of the dominant culture? Because I can assure you, the people who are part of the dominant class don't give a fuck about your culture. They do care about money. They do care about wealth. And that's the culture that you want to be a part of. So I guarantee you, when Denzel Washington walks into a room, guess what? They don't see Denzel as a black man. They see Denzel as part of their culture. Why? Because he got money. P. Diddy was there. Now P. Diddy's in a different culture. People understand. Having a cultural identification is not wrong. It is a great thing. It is beautiful. I love nothing more than being a black man because I can get some waves even though my hairline's receding. I like being a black man because I'm athletic. But understand, that comes at a price. That comes at a price that I might be looked at differently than some people until I speak. They say, oh, you're one of the good Negroes. You're not out here running around producing kids. And no, I'm one of those. Matter of fact, I'm glad that you brought this up, Dave. There was a clip, and I want everybody, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, what language you speak or you do not speak, what culture you belong to or identify with. There's an exchange between LeVar Burton and Lawrence Fishburne. I want to, matter of fact, let me see if I can pull it up.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. Please don't spoil it.
I'm not saying. I just know. I know. Yeah, I'm just saying.
So meanwhile, while you're looking at that, Greg, thanks for joining us, Greg. It's a good discussion. Disagree mutually, but I need to run. Have a great week, guys. Appreciate that. But again, if you think about, we're far-fetched. Even think about when you think about professional sports. You have some coaches that did a great job working with college students. Then they said, man, I can make more money, get hired to go in the NBA. And it's a different stance that you have to take with people. You could be the authority figure as an older coach at the collegiate level, but then when you go to the NBA, they're like, yo, that ain't working with us. So I think sometimes you have to adapt, have adaptability. You can't say, oh, this is the way I am as an adult. This is the way how I do it. And you're still going to be setting your way. You still going to have your overall core principles that you you're not going to bend totally on, but you might have to tweak some things based on the population or the people you're dealing with. You might have to make some tweaks and revisions to say, all right, I got to go to the lab to figure out how I can work this out. Because if you don't, if you think your way is the only way or hit the highway, you would have a lot of frustrating days. And again, I always talk about KYP, know your personnel. Got to get to know your personnel. Once you get to know your personnel, you can move mountains. And especially when it comes to kids. I can tell you, when they become your soldiers, and this is off the record, well, it's not as public we on here, but when you got soldiers and they go to war for you, you don't even have to fight battles with kids. Because if they see somebody disrespecting you, just like in sports, you have some players that go to bat for their coach and they put other players in place. If you have people that they believe in your message or what you say, they'll check other students. Like, oh, I know you're not disrespecting him. Oh, I know you didn't do this. And those people that's disrespecting, they're falling order.
All right, let me know if y'all can hear this.
I can hear it starting up. Yeah.
Nothing yet.
I don't hear no talking.
Still nothing.
I'm trying to figure out how the hell I can do this. Nah, if y'all can hear it by now, then
Are they talking?
yeah.
Mm.
Did you download it and I just hear like static.
Can you hear it, David?
Uh-uh.
All right. I'll have to
Neither.
drop the link.
There you go.
You heard it?
Nope.
Negative.
I'll have to drop the link in the chat.
Okay.
But I think that's
So
I think that's vitally important for the discussion and people to understand. You know, when blacks talk about Black History Month and why they're a proponent of it. That minute and a half clip really just encompasses and makes it very, very profound and prophetic to the reasoning behind that. And when I first heard that, I was like, yo, people that aren't emotionally secure and mentally equipped do not need to listen to that clip. Because it can, and I'm sure for a few, has incited some ill will. And I don't necessarily think that was the intent. I think the intent was to teach, and it was to educate, and it was to give people a glimpse into the feelings and the residue that blacks carry around with them on a day-to-day basis. They just can't exhibit it because they don't want to be viewed in a certain light. I understand that. This is why we say, hey, look, if I acted the way that I thought, you would never look at me the same. So it's I gotta keep him under wraps so he doesn't do any damage to anybody. And people that don't understand, they don't understand. And I can't expect them to really rightly understand something that they've never been forced to live with or had to grow up with. As we move away from the generations and the conditions that have set the parameters for that feeling, things become a little less intense. This is why I'm slightly a proponent of moving away from Black History Month and Black people establishing their own economic avenues so that way you can teach and instruct everyone the values, the additions, and the respect that Black people as a whole have brought to the human race. So no longer can we be looked at, or should we be looked at as a enslaved people. We should be looked at as an enslaved people who rose up out of that, fought to get out of that. And now we sit here among the ruling class in a way that dignifies us as people. But we have to understand, as Black people, we need to take the reins of that horse and direct that horse. We should not expect anyone else to do that for us because we have the means, economic, mental, and physical to do that. The question is, are we willing to? Are we willing to do that? Or are we still going to look to daddy government to do that? So are we still going to look for everybody else to do that except the people that look like us? Earlier in the broadcast, shout out to Daphne, she mentioned a group of people that didn't wait. Harriet Tubman didn't wait for people she didn't wait for the Civil War to free her people. That's why she packed. And those who weren't willing, she said, hey, look, you don't have to, but if you snitch on us, we're coming back and we're going to get you. And we're going to get you and make sure that when we get you, you ain't going to speak no more. See, some people only work under duress. Some people only work under the threat of having something done to them. So, work without the rest. Find a common goal with your people. Contribute to it, either intellectually, monetarily, or physically. We can. There's not an aspect of society that we can't get into. Computers, medicine, food production, education, banking, e-commerce. There's nothing. The question is, when are we gonna start doing it?
And the sooner we start, the better off we'll be. The better off our future generations will be. That way, when something like this happens, the elimination of DEI, we say, okay, well, we didn't benefit anyway. So if y'all want to take them jobs away from the people who did benefit, and y'all want to give some to us, hey, we're willing to listen. But we got to start with the youth. We have to start educating these kids, and this is going to rub some people the wrong way and be rubbed the wrong way. You got to start putting your Black men out in front because they can be your soldiers. They're going to pick up arms, no pun intended, whether those arms be money or little arms. They're going to say, hey, look, that ain't going to happen here. It happened with the Black and government will verify this. It happened, and history will verify this. It happened with the Black Panthers in California, in Los Angeles. Why do you think they actually rewrote the gun laws in California? People, your Head Start programs started out with the Black Panthers. They were feeding the community. It was adapted. All these things people don't talk about, but they use every day. I'm just telling you, it's out there.
I think to add to that, like Herb said, there's a lot of things we could do and the youth could do, but I think everything has to be structured. We have to have more kind of step by step programs. Again, I often talk about when I was younger, they used to have job training or little things, workshops and stuff that we would have to go to week after week. Now, I didn't necessarily want to go because I like, okay, I could be out playing football or doing this or going to the boys club, but I had to go. I got signed up by my mother to go to these programs, so I had to go learn how to at age 12 or 13 doing mock interviews and doing things like that, having group discussions about your resume and experience, career goals and stuff. Kids need that, but they need this step by step. Every week we gonna do something different, and to build up upon it because who else they're gonna rely on? If you don't start forming things like that, it's just something that needs to be done because other than that, they're gonna be lost. And as each year go by, and then when they get to high school, they probably escape by high school, and it's gonna be less hand holding in high school, and once they get through, they out they out there for the wolves to get them, and that's why you see a lot of people get tangled up in the wrong ways. You oftentimes, as educators and other people observing, you can kind of see students and say, and you know the route or trajectory they're going on based on their actions. Either you can step in or intervene, or you can watch. They pretty much could be on a sinking ship. Sometimes the kids that's going to be hustlers.
Hmm.
Well, that girls like, yeah, she probably gonna have like two, three kids, by
Hmm.
different people on social services. Now, like you can kind of see it. Uh, of course, you don't openly speak that out, but you think it, and you may share with a colleague or something that you trust, and it could be a team of y'all who've been working with the student, like you already know what path they're going. But I think I always say this, especially for boys. They need step by step instruction, week by week things to do. Today we doing this. Next week we gonna work on that. Let's we start putting those facilitating and putting those things together, programs to move them forward and relevant stuff that they enjoy. Where are we gonna go? And I know people are like, oh, I thought y'all were talking about history, but this all has everything to do with history because we have to move young people forward,
Hmm.
and they have to be able to adapt to history or trust people that look like them. So that's the first thing, trusting people that look like them before you could trust anybody else.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties in, you know what Greg was saying, like it's just the fact that they're the adult, uh and there's no thing that would be like a black person going into a predominantly white school.
Yeah.
And you walking up, like, sit down or whatever. They're going to look at you like you cross-eyed. Like, what is this? And they're going to have their thoughts and they're going to say their stuff. So, again, like people like always say, well, everything's about, everything's not about race. But if you sit back and think about it, it probably is. Has a lot to do with it. Like that's something you just can't sweep under the rug.
Right.
And people will always say certain things when you can tell by the way they identify people with. They'll say, "Oh, like who you talking about? That white man, the white bald headed one, or the black fat dude." Or it's just the descriptions that they give that it's going to be color, it's going to be race uh, involved, and that's probably basic, but that's just like some of the things that they'll say. And it depends on the individual how bad the description is.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just saying it's a lot of work that has to be done.
I agree. And the sooner we start, the better off we all will be. And there's another song, and I love, kind of music and movie references. But there's a song put out in like 1987, I think it was, by then the music group Boogie Down Productions. And for those of you who don't know, you just don't know. There's no need to get into it. Called "You Must Learn," and he goes through everything in terms of the history of Black people, education, and why some things need to stop and some things need to change. That and the YouTube link, those two things will give you, hopefully, they give you some insight into the psyche of ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, or FBAs, Free Black Americans. Hopefully, that gives you some insight into the collective psyche of that group of people, because it's difficult. It's difficult to exist in a system that makes it difficult. And understand what I mean when I say difficult. When I say difficult, it means the deck is stacked against you. Not that it's impossible, but the deck is stacked against you. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything that has happened has been the fault of the government. Some of that is the fault of ourselves. We producing children out of wedlock at record numbers. We're destroying our homes. We're not preserving our communities. It's a myriad of things. But all those things are stacked against us. Yes, they're stacked against some Americans as well, other ethnic demographics. But we suffer the most, which is why it's imperative for us, people that look like me, David and Clapton, to understand that what Malcolm said, or at least was purported to be said in the movie, said whites cannot join us because there's no black-white unity until there's black unity. Now, that don't mean we all are going to agree on everything, and it's not necessary. But that means that when it comes to what we need as a demographic, that we understand. Because understanding doesn't mean agreement. Understanding means having the prerequisite knowledge to see what's going on and to see what's necessary. That's why I always tell people there's a distinction between understanding and agreement, and that's the difference.
A lot has been covered, and again, I always say these conversations gonna come up again. In February, it's still in the early part, so I can't say any other future broadcasts this month won't have anything to do with Black history.
Guys, it's been great. I gotta turn in. I gotta leave, but it's been good. Thanks.
All right, man. We appreciate it.
Coming in, man. All right, be safe.
Thank you.
So, we're gonna get out of here. And it's so funny, like, even you think about sports, Monday night, and they never have basketball games on Monday night on ESPN because the Luka Don is the Lakers, and now they got the game on. I'm like, See, this is the things that they do to drive money or whatever the case is. They create their own rules and own narratives about stuff. Like, hey, we can increase our viewership. We're gonna have a throwing a Monday night on ESPN game on. They do what they want. And this is some of the things that we try to tell you. So that you try to fight something and say, well, hey, they don't do that for us. Or, well, they got this done and we didn't get that. We're in a whole different landscape, so we have to create platforms for ourselves and we have to support our platforms that we have. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I never want to do that. But if it's something they do or they drive, yeah, do it. Like it ain't nothing. Like it's not. Like it's nothing. So this is why we always continue to struggle. I can't tell you like how many people that I know from my hometown could probably benefit from listening to stuff that we say, but they they won't do it. You know what? They'd rather get a knucklehead on here, somebody who say, "Oh, give me a mic," and I did 10 years in jail. Now I'm gonna come with a podcast, and they be ranting and raving about that shit all day long. It'll say, "Oh, they've been through something. They've been through something." So that's the leadership I want to follow.
Yep.
Instead of somebody been on the straight and narrow path and say, "Man, yeah, they always did it the right way. They ain't perfect, but they did stuff the right way." Nah, nah. See, we always have it's disheartening, but nothing to ever make me stop because again, uh, when you doing live streaming shows, it doesn't just have to be your network of people from your hometown. It's all over, and people can notice you, and people can say, "Hey, let me tune in." Hence, like the one guy, that's just Johnson, LinkedIn out in
Yeah.
California, LA, and stuff, whatever, tuning in and hearing because people say, "Hey, all right, I'm interested. I like the message. I like what they're doing," and so you just never know. But when we relate this to Black history and all that stuff, one thing we always got to work through trust.
Mhm.
Trust. We have to learn to trust each other.
Yeah.
When a lot of that comes from the home, the lack of trust or just non-trusting relationships. So again, so all of that stuff tie in. Even what Greg was saying, oh, you should just sit down because it don't work like that. A lot of times you got to be trusted. You have to it's your introduction. It's things that you got to do to make people move. If you start at a new job and you come in and someone kind of like give you a sheet, this is what you need to do, and have it all, and then send you on your way and tell you this is what you need to do, you're gonna kind of like, damn, where did I left my job to come here? Or do you want somebody to take time, like to get to know you? Hey, I'm your supervisor. This is what I'm about. I've been working here, been doing this. Um, you know, I'm very vested in this. Glad to have you here. This is my purpose. That could go a long way. That's sometimes in the point we was making. That's what kids sometimes need to hear. They want to know, like, dang, can I trust you? Am I safe with you? Who are you? Because it's not easy. We it's not easy building trust in relationships. And again, it do start from home. But also we don't know some of these kids, they don't always trust their parents.
Right.
They don't always come through. They lie to them and tell them this or that, and some kids always disappointed, always disappointed. So I think you have to look at the whole bigger picture when we talk about subjects like this, and like it's not a one size fit all model. It's work. It's work to be done. Unfortunately, I'm one of the ones that say, "Hey, I'm trying. I'll still do it, but I'm trying to do it from afar."
Hey, man, I ever understand? It's a grind. Literally, it's a grind. You know, you having to deal with the same mindset day in and day out. So, as opposed to looking at the bigger picture, sometimes you want to look at the smaller successes and say, "I got to one today. Can I get to another tomorrow? And if I can get to two, then I know at least I did something." Because it's not easy. A lot of people think, education should be, like I said earlier, education should be about teaching X's and O's, sports analogy, A, B's and C's, one, twos and threes, and it has become so much more evolved than that. David talks about, you need mental health now, you need counselors, you need nutritionists, and who knows? Trump might be onto something with trying to revamp the educational system in this. And who knows what the future of education might look like in 20 years? The education system might look like an entire home inside a school. It might look like the parents are there. So when the parents get up in the morning, guess what? The parents are in the cafeteria preparing foods. They learn how to cook nutritional meals. They're learning how to do things from scratch. And guess what the kids are going to say? "Oh, shit, my mom's working. I ain't got nowhere to go. My mom's talking to my teachers every day. My father's talking to my teachers every day. I ain't got no choice but to straighten up and act right because they're going to be right there. It ain't going to be no calling them on the phone. Sometimes they might be sitting in the classroom right alongside you, listening to what's going on. So now you compelled to act right. Because if you don't, you're gonna get some act right. I'm gonna take you right across the hall to the bathroom, and I'm gonna let the people listen with the woodshed door open. What you get when you don't act right. And some people will say, "Well, you can't discipline your children like that." Incorrect. You can discipline your children like that so long as you're not leaving marks. You don't believe me? Ask around. Like the adage when we were kids, hard head make a soft ass. Which one's gonna wear out first? My belt or your behind? I'm just here to tell you, where there's a will, there's a way. You want to teach your kids? You want to teach the kids? There's a way. Embrace the way.
Yeah, and that's it. And again, this was a great conversation for to talk about leading into Black history. And again, sometimes it's not about all the other leaders or people from the past. I mean, of course, they're always going to be relevant, but sometimes we have to. What we're dealing now is just trying to build trust with people right there, tangible people. See, it's okay for us. I think for us, it was okay for us to pick up a book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and be able to say, "Damn, Malcolm well, he was that dude." But I don't know, like, I don't know if this generation uh, will pick up that and do that because, again, they're in more of the technology, even video games and things like that. It's almost like real. Like I could touch and feel, create these characters and do this and do that. So to visualize that may not work for them. We did a lot of daydreaming and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. We had to dream. We had to be creative. Everything is right there in front of these kids right now. So you got to entertain. They got to be entertained or something again that's tangible that they could touch and feel. And whatever it is, if we're older, we have to kind of meet. You got to meet people halfway.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with. It's just not like, oh, this is how it is. This is the way it got to be. If they ain't aboard, then get off my damn ship. And you're gonna just be riding on the boat by yourself. Sooner or later, they're gonna say, "Well, you don't have nobody to ride on. We're gonna shut that shit down. You don't have no followers, or you don't have nobody rolling with you. So we can't fund that. So you have to find a way."
Yeah.
Stuff, people. But
Yeah.
we try to give you a perspective and a perspective to a different kind of perspective that you can kind of understand and see. Like, yeah, I got that connection. And it's got to be flexible. That's what I have for my closing comment. Herb, anything you want to close it out with?
No, I'll just reiterate. There's a difference between agreement and understanding. Find the commonality so you can agree and then understand what needs to be done. And I'm not going to use my usual slogan tonight because I think you already know it. So with that being said, grateful for the input from Greg, Gavin for appearing, and everybody else that has contributed. Talk about these things with people. Honestly, these discussions need to be had on a larger basis. And when you start them among yourselves, do it with the intent of understanding, because we're not all going to agree. And we shouldn't. But what we should do is want to advance the discussion, nothing more.
All right, good people. We out. Stay tuned for clips and other posts, and continue to join the Counselor's Corner and add your feedback. And that's that. Whatever you always got to keep the brain sharp and keep going, and sometimes step out the box and see what other different people are talking about to get a different perspective. And remember, that's just what it is. Perspective and perceptions is all based on your experience. So nothing is locked in that your perspective is the only perspective. It's a worldly, tons and tons of different perspectives of people who see things through their lenses and understand that your lens is not the only lens. And when you do that, you'll be a better, well-rounded person. But other than that, I have nothing else. I'm out. We on to the next one. See y'all next time. Everybody be well and stay safe. And hey, still snowing. Weather coming. I get out of work early tomorrow. They already called it 3 hours early. I'll take it.
oh, y'all supposed to catch a storm then, or something to that mag. Something
we
to
know
that.
how that is. One of my coworkers told me, "Oh, it's still supposed to start off 6 inches." Then somebody said, "I said 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 6 inches." Like, okay, that's halfway to a foot, but so we'll see how it is. But
Yeah, I'll be making my way through the world today. It takes everything I got. So. All right, y'all, man. Y'all be safe. Keep warm.
All right. Take care. Peace.